Hey, we're Wires from Greensboro and North Carolina.
This is Eric again, doing my first real content video for the blog Touring America. I created the blog last week, real quick, just before I was set to go on a trip with my wife. It's our 22nd wedding anniversary. We enjoy getting out, touring the country on our bikes. And I kind of been meaning for a long time to get a place where I could document all my photos, videos, records of my trips. And so I created this thing. Unfortunately, the day we left, last Friday, the 21st of June 2016, we were headed up to Rhinelander, Wisconsin from the Chicago area where we live. And right before we got to our hotel, about 6 miles outside of town in Rhinelander, we were hit by a deer going 57 miles per hour on US 8 into Rhinelander. It was a pretty rough crash. So we were going full highway speeds. The deer jumped out from the side of the road and really badly damaged the bike, and we went flying. The bike I was on was my BMW K1600 GTL. It had about 20,000 miles on it. And I'm going to share with you some videos and some photos from that accident. Talk about my gear, the gear that I was wearing, the gear my wife was wearing, and the injuries that we sustained as a result. You can see here, I'm wearing a sling. I suffered a separated shoulder, and I've got a splint on my one finger. I suffered a fractured finger as well. And that really, for me, was the extent of my major injuries. I'm a little bit sore, I've got some bruising, but mostly the separated shoulder is the big item. My wife has got pretty extensive road rash on her legs, arms and hands, and we'll talk about her gear and maybe kind of why some of that stuff happened. But overall, I was real happy. Things could have been much, much worse. We had our helmets on, we were wearing good protective jackets, and we'll kind of go over that stuff here in just a second. Well, as we said, I was just in an accident on the BMW K1600 GTL, motorcycle versus deer at about 57 miles per hour. It was about a 175-pound doe. The doe ended up being killed, found her in the ditch on the other side of the road, and we just didn't have time to take any corrective action once I saw the deer. But thankfully we had on some good protective equipment. And I want to start out with our equipment by talking about the helmets that we had. This is my Scorpion EXO 1100. This is the second Scorpion helmet that I've used. I had an EXO 1000, used that for many years. Finally kind of came to the end of its useful life, and this is the third year for me in the EXO 1100. It's a much lighter helmet than the 1000 was, a little bit more comfortable, lighter, and the fit seemed to be better. The visor fit to the face mask, the seal that was around there, the rubber seal, was better. I like the trim package a little bit better. The venting seemed to flow better. And in general, I think it was just a little bit more stylish. You can see I've got a Sena 20S on there as well. I'll talk about that in a separate video. This is really kind of more of a video about safety. So I was wearing this helmet along with my jacket, leather perforated jacket from Field Shear, a pair of leather deer tours gloves from who makes those deer tours? Lee Parks. Those hold up great, and some BMW summer pants that I'll talk all about those in separate videos here. But I wanted to start with the helmet, because quite frankly, as you can tell from this side, this helmet kept me alive. After the deer hit, the bike went down, and I slid on my right shoulder and my head for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure, 30, 40, 50 feet. I remember being conscious the whole time, looking through my face shield, hearing the grinding against the helmet, and just watching the pavement go by underneath me. You can see it's got extensive line. I guess the line is 8 or 9 inches long, where I was grinding my head along the concrete there. Came down onto the face shield as well. Talking with the doctors at the hospital, they definitely think that this helmet saved my life. So Scorpion, appreciate you for making a quality product at really a very reasonable price. I think I paid about 300 bucks, 330, somewhere in that neighborhood for this helmet a few years ago. Definitely not at the top end of that $800 or $900 Shoei or Schuberth scale, but still really good helmet. I said, saved my life. I would definitely get another one. My wife was also wearing a Scorpion helmet, She was wearing an older XO 400 helmet, obviously in white, also with the Cena 20S on it. And you'll notice her face shield is missing. Her face shield got torn off during the crash. I remember seeing it on the ground at some point, but we never went back and picked it up after the crash. She hit face first, right on the chin bar. We commented afterwards, she also has a Scorpion 100, which is kind of their half helmet with the flip down visor. She wore that for many years, but once we put the headsets in, she likes having those built into the full face helmet. So she wore this instead, even though it was going to be a warm day. Quite frankly, again, probably saved her, maybe not her life in her case, but definitely a lot of facial damage. She rode this, as I rub my fingers on this, it's a really deep face gouge, and I'll give you some close-up pictures of that. Here, I'll try to roll those into the video. But in general, the helmet did a great job. Broke the vents up at the top. She really didn't get much damage to the rear. Most of her helmet damage seemed to be right up on the face, guys. But again, XO 400, this was a staple of their lineup for many, many years. This was really cheap. We actually ended up getting this helmet at a motorcycle shop down in Southern Illinois a few years ago. We were riding down into Tennessee, which is a mandatory helmet state, and the helmet she had on was very uncomfortable. And so we stopped in a helmet shop. We got this on clearance. I think it was 140, 150 bucks. My son also has an XO 400. They're great value helmets. It's a discontinued line now, I believe. But if you can find one new old stock somewhere, they're really, really solid, very comfortable, and a great value. But again, guys, don't go out without your helmet. It's tempting. I know when I go on long tours with my buddies, a lot of times we ride with helmets all day. Pretty much without exception. Now we check into our hotel or set up our campsite, and a lot of times it's the end of the day. If we're in a helmet, non-helmet law state, we'll just jump on our bikes, go a couple miles into town, get something to eat, and come back. You're hot, you're uncomfortable, you don't want to get that helmet back on your head. But I'm telling you, there's no telling when things are going to happen. I've had 2 motorcycle accidents now. Neither one of them was my fault. Obviously, we've got this deer, and I was also run off the road by a pickup truck several years ago. Both times had a helmet on. Well worth it, right? It's not always what you do, but what other people do that affects you in a very negative way. So get a helmet. I highly endorse the Scorpion line.